Good early summer on this overcast day with increasingly sun peeking through that overcast on this early June, first day of summer, on this somewhat chilly start to the summer season, which I don't mind because old Vincenzo is not a big fan of the heat and humidity. So a 57-degree morning on the first day of summer in central Illinois in the greater Bloomington metropolitan area is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous start to the worst 3 months of the year for old Vincenzo, the summertime. Unless Vincenzo's on a boat or the pool, Vincenzo does not like the summertime. Vincenzo loves the fall and adores the wintertime. But as I digress, you come here for a one-of-a-kind, a probability-based, company-made trading alert and technical analysis, right? Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing. This is an emergency announcement to all of my subscribers, especially those that are in countries that are big countries like the United States, Canada, and the European Union, Australia. You guys know you know who I'm talking about. My American friends, you're my biggest audience. This is an emergency announcement. You're running out of time to get your portfolio and to get your shit together, because they are devaluing your dollar in the U.S. or your euro or your yen, right? But especially the U.S. dollar. If we go look at the dollar index, I don't bring it up much. That's going to be a daily part of our show now. Starting today, the dollar index, because I track it every day, will be a daily part of our show because it's very important. Because when your dollar goes down on the index, everything that you buy with dollars costs more. Right? It's not that the product's going up. That's the misconception. And that's what you guys and most of you guys and 99% of the people in the world in the US don't understand, right? It's not the product is going up. It's not that the cost of the hamburger is going up or the cost of that wood is going up, right? That wood did not change. That hamburger is the same, right? It's the value of the currency that you're paying in. And for my US audience, it's the US dollar is going down. So when the dollar loses value because it's a fiat currency and it's not backed by anything, they took us off the gold standard in the late 60s so they could devalue the dollar and make the women have to get into the workplace because a one salary household could no longer provide for the family because of the higher inflation and higher taxes. And the higher inflation you pay in two ways. One, the way they're doing it now, primarily. They print money, they devalue your money. They inflate the currency. All inflation is, people, all of my subscribers, get your notepads out. This is very important. And this is industry exclusive on these crypto channels, these other crypto channels that don't say gold crypto. They don't understand what inflation is. They think inflation is just prices going up. That's the cause of that's the effect of inflation. The cause is inflation. What's inflation? It's expanding the money supply. That's all inflation means. They changed it and they modified in the Webster's dictionary what inflation meant to rising prices, to include rising prices, like 30 or 40 years ago. So that way it would confuse the simpletons and the sheeple and the non-shepherds that would think that the businesses or the evil, greedy capitalists are causing inflation because the prices are rising. No, the prices are rising because, like in the U.S. right now, yes, I don't get political often, but old left-wing Joe Biden is in office. Communist, socialist Joe Biden and Janet Yellen and other communists. All these are Keynesian economists. They believe in Keynesianism, right? Debt-based economy, just print money and everything's rosy and fine and you don't have to worry about anything. But he's the one in office right now. And I said when he got into office, his first year, he would print $10 trillion, which when I say print $10 trillion, that's $10 trillion in inflation, because inflation is the expansion of the money supply. That's all inflation is. Did you guys get that? Inflation is expansion of the money supply. So when the United States gives out fiscal stimulus, either monetary stimulus, fiscal stimulus, direct stimulus, when they print money and hand it out for anything, that's expanding the money supply, and that is inflation. Now, the effect of that is prices going up. And you say, well, what, Vincenzo, how the fuck do prices go up by expanding the money supply? Well, that's a great question, subscribers, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. This is very important information, an industry exclusive to a crypto channel, but that's why Vincenzo is gold crypto investing, because I understand monetary and fiscal policy. And in my own portfolio, I have sold a lot of dollars over the last few years, and I have acquired a lot of non-dollar denominated assets. Right? And some of those pay a fancy, glowing, gorgeous, sexy dividend where they just pay me a 6, 7, 8, 9% a year. Yeah, go try to get that in your central bank, 6, 7, 8, 9% a year, and a dividend for holding their stock or their fund, right? I'm selling my dollars because I know the dollar, like I can see it's getting devalued, right? So you need to diversify because your dollar is tanking, and it's going to continue to tank. And Joe Biden, like I said, would have $10 trillion in debt and inflation in his first year. He's already at $5.5 trillion, and he's already talking about Janet Yellen is saying the federal government needs to step up their spending, and Jerome Powell needs to start monetizing that shit, because Jerome Powell is the Federal Reserve man. He's the federal chairman, and Janet Yellen is the Secretary of Treasury, and they're supposed to be independent departments that do not work together and have two separate jobs. But they work together because Janet Yellen was the Fed chairman, right? And now she's the Secretary of Treasury, and they're in cahoots. And the Secretary of Treasury wants more inflation, and the Federal Reserve, or the Fed chairman, is going to monetize it. And you have a banana republic now. You have a Weimar Republic, but on a much larger scale because we have a much bigger economy, right? So every time Joe Biden prints money, which he's about to do again, he's causing massive inflation, and you were seeing it from 2000 on in the stock market and assets, homes, and shit like that, right? Now you're starting to see it in consumer prices, clothes, cars, lumber, the commodity market skyrocketing, right? They're all at all-time highs, threatening new all-time highs, right? The cost of energy to heat your house, to get gas, right? It's not that you get out of the way, squirrel. I'm not trying to murder you right now. On my way back to work for the first time. But it's not like when people have another misconception, take your notes out again. When they see gas go up, they say, ooh, it's the evil George W. Bush or the evil oil Republicans and all this nonsense. No, the reason gas skyrockets in the U.S. and goes down in terms of other countries' money is because in the 2000s, when gas skyrocketed, your dollar collapsed and almost went under, right? We almost lost control of the dollar like we did in the 1980s. You see, when gas skyrocketed in the 1980s, gas crunch, it was because your dollar got devalued so heavily, so quick. It cost you, if you had dollars, more dollars to buy that same barrel of gas and oil. The oil didn't change. Your dollars just lost value to buy that oil. And that's what's going on right now. The dollar is at 89.5. It's threatening to break and go down to 15-year lows. And then if it breaks key support, and this is a long-standing forecast too. I said when Joe Biden got in, that yellow line, or that green dotted line is when Joe Biden was elected. That green dotted line is where Joe Biden was elected. The U.S. dollar was at 90.7. I said by the time Joe Biden finishes his first term, the U.S. dollar will be threatening its all-time record lows of, I think, somewhere around 76 or 77. And that would be catastrophic for the U.S. And I believe it could go much, much lower than that by the time Joe Biden's done. I believe by the end of this year, we could be threatening the 79 handle in the U.S. dollar. I believe we're on a catastrophic collapse in the loss of purchasing power in the United States dollar because the radical left-wing communist socialists that, yes, do involve the Republicans, because I am not a Republican, they are fully on board with the former President Trump spending. You know, they were on board with that inflation because it was a Republican who was a fake conservative Republican that I try to tell all my conservative Republican buddies that he was just a big government, big spender, big inflation guy, right? And that's what he did. Joe Biden just that times a million. Joe Biden's going to make President Trump and former President Obama and former President Trump look like fiscal conservatives after Joe Biden's first year, right? President Biden is going to cause massive inflation, massive loss in the dollar. And if you guys don't have your portfolios together and you're holding lots of US dollars and nothing else, no physical gold, silver, commodities, no foreign currency, no foreign denominated assets that pay dividends, no funds that pay good dividends, right? That go up when the US dollar goes down. That's what I'm doing. That's what I've been doing. I've been doing for a long time. I've got my old man on my way of thinking because he can now, as he's getting close to retirement, see his retirement savings, if it's left in dollars and dollar denominated assets, he's going to lose a lot of his retirement in the next 10 or 20 years. And while he's trying to coast and have a good end of his life after working his ass off for 5 decades, 6 decades, right? He wants his last 3 decades to have some purchasing power left, and he started to do that, and he's reaping the rewards now. My brother never knew anything about, he knew about gold and silver, he always liked it, but he never really knew the reasons why to do it, and I have hammered that into him over the last 15 years, and he has done a phenomenal job diversifying into phenomenal assets that are going to skyrocket as the US dollar collapses, because that's one thing Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing and XRP Future Millionaire understand. We understand what inflation is, and inflation is expansion of the money supply. We understand what the effects of inflation are, that is prices going up, and another effect of that is product shortages, right? Look at Venezuela, Greece, all that. When you have a massive devaluation of your local currency, and in my case, the United States dollar, there's going to be product shortages. Used car prices this isn't transit. All my again, take notes. Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing exclusive. This is not transitory inflation, right? This is a new decade of stagflation, where you have a depressionary inflation period, right? An inflationary depression period. You have depressed growth, right, over the next 10 years, because it's going to happen. Even after they rig and try to make the data look better than it is by the way they measure shit, it's going to be a depressed growth era, because we're getting zombie companies, as Mike Maloney and Harry Dent and a lot of other guys like to say, depressed zombie companies that shouldn't be there, but they're getting fiscal stimulus or inflation. We're not going to have the growth, but we're going to have high unemployment. We're going to have price rising because of inflation, because the government just can't stop printing money, and we're going to print ourselves into the worst possible case scenario, where we have wage and price. Joe Biden, by the end of the inflation's going to get so bad by the end of Joe Biden administration. I think, like Peter Schiff, you're going to see wage and price controls again, like you've seen back in the late 70s, right? You're going to see price controls and wage controls, and you're going to see product shortages and bread and food lines again. It's coming in America. You think when the pandemic started and they were making you line up outside at Costco and at Walmart because they said it was for the virus, and you had to separate and be in long lines to get into the store, in some cases hours to get in, because they had to only let so many people in? No, they know what's coming. They know that's gonna be the commonplace when you go to the grocery. They're just preparing you and implanting it in your mind that long lines at the grocery store are normal, right? Long lines at the Secretary of State are normal. Long lines to get gas are normal, right? They were getting you ready for that. It's like mind control, where they pre-program you, where they get you ready for what's about to come. The United States government knows we have inflation coming, hyperinflation, moderate, high inflation, and they know wage and price controls from President Joe Biden are coming, because evil, what communists and socialists and authoritarians do when inflation happens, they blame the free market, and they blame the greedy, as they call them, businessmen for raising prices. No, the reason the prices went up had nothing to do with the businessman doing anything. It had to do with the value of the currency being massively devalued, while you're robbing us in the inflation tax when you inflate the money supply, right? But they know President Joe Biden is going to impose wage and price controls. Yes, you did hear that right. Wage and price controls in the United States. And that will cause massive food lines, bread lines, product shortages, not enough food, not enough energy, right? And they're just getting you ready. So when that happens, you were just used to it. They normalized it already for you, right? And they used the pandemic as the reason to make you get used to 9 months in some cities where you have long lines in the store. And I laughed at that, because the sheep couldn't see what was going on, right? But the people that aren't blinded by the blinders and that actually understand what's going on, and like me, I'm in Austrian economics, savings and production, and limited government and limited government spending, right? Because this is what you get. This is a very important announcement. This is supposed to be my morning radio show. I'm going to play a clip of this because this is very valuable information, but I'm about to get to Rivian and I have to go to work. Peace and love. I'll expand on this. This is part of what my monetary Mondays are going to be all about, and my commodity Mondays, and my fiscal and monetary policy Fridays. I get in depth into stuff like this. Like, subscribe, and share. Peace and love.